First thing, congratulations to JJ Redick for securing the head coaching position, and this may actually work out with a championship or a deep playoff push. However, there's a few things to consider about this hire that doesn't really make any sense if you look at it. Personally, I enjoy players, former players, etc., creating content. It gives you some good insight into what's going on in the background, some of the stories, the game plans that things like Yahoo Sports or ESPN or FS1 maybe won't cover as in-depth because they don't have the first-hand experience. Now, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, PG-13, Jeff Teague, Tyson, if you like boxing, Pivot Podcast, football, they all got some pretty good stuff, but the first problem with this coaching hire is really the way that he was hired in regard to that whole podcast, and we'll kind of go into that as well as his current resume. Now, let me start off by saying that as a young kid, JJ Redick was that gas, okay? When it comes to, college basketball, that man was one of the baddest dudes to lace him up. For Duke, that man was the cover of College Hoops 2K7. If you know, you know. That man was a cheat code. I mean, dudes like him, Steph Curry, Davidson, Greg Oden at Ohio State, other guys that kept college basketball really interesting during that time, that 05 to 08 time period. But, as people saw, if you look at other sports like the NFL, when Jeff Saturday was interim coach in Indianapolis, you usually need some time as a member of a coaching staff on a professional level prior to taking the helm of a real pro team, and especially when you're taking over the biggest franchise of the last 50 years in the Los Angeles Lakers. The Celtics just won, yes, but the last 50 years it really hasn't been close in terms of who's been dominating more. Now, I think he has the potential to be a good coach, just probably not with this team. This isn't comparable to Steve Kerr or Phil Jackson because both of those guys spent time as assistant coaches in the league prior to taking over the helm. I don't think players are going to, probably disrespect him because he wasn't a star player. By that measure, really 90% of the league wouldn't deserve respect because by logic, everybody can't be a star. To quote Syndrome from The Incredibles, if everyone's special, no one is. So, the best stars have proven to be horrible coaches. So that's really not what's going to hold JJ back. The last 6 NBA champion head coaches all had experience as assistants prior to taking over the team. So it's not just a long historical trend, but a recent one as well. That lack of experience is not going to play into his favor because I went back and looked at it. Since 1980, only 4 coaches have won a championship in their first season with the team. There's Paul Westhead with the Lakers in 1980, the infamous Pat Riley with the Lakers in 82, Steve Kerr in 2015, and Tyronn Lue in 2016, along with Nick Nurse with the Raptors. Personally, I don't believe there are many coaches who can handle LeBron James in this current NBA outside of people like maybe Pop, Steve Kerr, Spoelstra, and if Pat Riley wanted to step down and coach, probably him as well. But LeBron's gotten lots of coaches fired. A lot of players have, but really with him, his tenure, he's gotten a lot of coaches fired despite his finals trips, MVPs, and a lot of the accolades accrued with these same coaches. So their game plans were good enough to get him those things, but they're not good enough, to stick around. LBJ, he wanted Pat Riley to coach him at Miami. And Pat Riley, he basically just G-checked him and said, look, Spoelstra is this guy, and this is the coach. We're not going to be doing any pulling of rank, none of that silly stuff, trying to go above and check people, no. Now, JJ knows his X's and O's. I'm not saying he's incompetent. I would never say that. The man obviously knows basketball. But what is he going to tell LeBron when he doesn't rotate on defense, the last 3 sets, and LeBron tunes him out? That's the kind of stuff that I think about, especially when you think about what they were doing with their podcast. And that's why I believe that this is not really going to work. Now, 3 months ago, LeBron James and JJ dropped the first tidbits of their podcast, which is very well made, by the way. If JJ never became his coach, this would be a great thing to continue. Very good stuff. The issue is LeBron created this podcast while Darvin Ham was still the coach and prior to a playoff push where he should have been locked in. I don't know if you guys remember back when he played for the Heat, there was a time period where he used to go 0 dark 30 and focus purely on the playoffs, and that's when I think he had his best success overall in the NBA. That was probably the best version of LeBron we saw on both sides of the floor. Now, they say a relationship is over, or usually over, well before it actually ends. For example, if your wife divorces you after 4 years, that means at year 2 she was already thinking about leaving you, and by year 3 she probably already had a next victim lined up. Now, because of this, it's very clear that once LBJ checks out, he's out. So JJ is going to basically have to be perfect because once LeBron's out on this experience, he will be out. When Ham took over that team, AD played about 50 or so games that year, if I remember correctly. LeBron played about 70 or so in year 19 or 20, which is impressive. And that whole team went to the Western Conference Finals, where they got handled by the Nuggets. But they did take out the Grizzlies with Ja, and the Warriors with Hall of Fame coach Steve Kerr. So for people who are talking about Ham being a horrible coach, I don't think he was horrible. I think he was actually pretty good, or decent, I should say. Is he the second coming to Pop? No, but he did well against that Warriors team in that Western Conference semifinals in 2023 with his first season with the Lakers. Is he perfect? No, but we can go back to a coach that actually won the championship recently. What was wrong with Frank Vogel? Vogel was a coach who brought that team to a championship in his first season with them after 7 years of, or not his first season, but a few seasons with them after 7 years of struggles and 10 years of no championship. LeBron has played 20 seasons and has had 9 coaches, excluding Redick. For reference, Kareem played about 20 seasons as well, and he had 5 coaches. Now it's a different era, of course, including the Jack McKinney hire during that 79-80 season, where you had him for 30 games before Paul Westhead took over. Now, there's an old phrase of, you lose him how you got him. And JJ is going to find out that it is mentally exhausting to coach LeBron James, which is why the Lakers made a rash decision in this coaching hire. The Lakers are big-time gamblers since the end of the Kobe era, which worked out for them in the 2020 bubble, but they have gotten away from what made them special. Draft great, sign great. Draft guys like Kobe, sign guys like Shaq. Draft guys like Magic. You trade or you sign for guys like Kareem, etc. You draft James Worthy. So far they've been focused on signing big names and squeaking their way into the playoffs with a nice run the year before last. But this is funny because Ham's coaching was not a problem when they won that trumped up but the play-in chip that they were trying to push. Talking about they're going to hang banners for the play-in tournament. The Lakers, overall, it's a job that many would probably not want. It's a high market area with crazy fans. There's pressure to win immediately. No high draft picks to build. The best player is your most injury-prone player. Your second best player is 1 foot, out of the door. He's probably going to leave or retire in the next few years, which I wouldn't blame him. He's done basically everything you can do in basketball. People forget these coaches, they kind of have their own code of conduct as well, as well as the players do. And they probably did not like the way that championship level coach and Frank Vogel got fired. That's probably the reason that Quinn Snyder did not want the job, allegedly. Dan Hurley probably didn't want to be a part of that mess after winning 2 college chips, in a row at UConn. The news about Vogel, I think it broke out, if I remember correctly, right after an overtime win. They asked that man if he knew. He said, I didn't know. We're celebrating the young guys tonight. So, the Lakers, they're basically treating these coaches like you can just chop, I don't know if you've seen Praying Mantis. When she's done with her lover, she bites the head off. They're kind of just treating them like that. Very expendable. They're treating players and coaches like a merry-go-round. And they kind of refuse to draft well or stick with a coach for 3 to 4 years to actually build a system. We saw that with Mike Malone. If you but you sign a coach, let him build, you can get something good. Budenholzer, before the Bucks lost their mind, let him build a little bit, see where it goes. Same with Mazzulla. It was only 2 years, but he was with the team before that as an assistant coach. We'll see how this goes. I could be horribly wrong, and JJ could lead them to a strong playoff push, but we'll see. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's going to work out. But as always, God bless. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at yourself.